every year at my son's school fundraiser. The other moms would kind of look past me, like I was there to serve drinks instead of actually belong. One of them, real sweet smile and everything, told another mom, loud enough for me to hear. Bless her heart, she's just a waitress. It's nice they let her volunteer here. What none of them knew was that I'd written the check, covering half that night's budget, and I was still deciding whether I was even going to tell them. My name's Amber. I'm 34. Single mom to my son Caleb, he's 9. 3rd grade this year at Lincoln Elementary. It's this small public school outside Charlotte. Real tight-knit community. The kind of place where every parent knows every other parent's business, or thinks they do anyway. I work early mornings, 5 days a week, at a little diner about 10 minutes from the school. Been there since Caleb was a baby, actually. It's honest work. I've never once been embarrassed by it. But I noticed pretty quick, once Caleb started school, that some of the other moms, the ones who show up to pick up in the nice cars, kind of sized me up different once they found out where I worked. Nothing ever mean. Exactly, just polite, distant, the kind of polite where you can tell somebody's already decided who you are before they've ever actually talked to you. Every spring, the school does this big fundraiser, silent auction, dinner, the whole thing, raises money for the art and music programs. Since the district budget doesn't really cover much beyond the basics, I always volunteered to help set up, mostly because I genuinely wanted Caleb's school to have those programs. He loves art, draws constantly. This past spring's fundraiser, I was setting up tables early before most people arrived, and I overheard 2 moms near the coffee station. One of them, picture Diane, kind of well-known in the parent group, real involved, always organizing something. She was talking to another mom I didn't know well. That's Amber, Diane said, nodding toward me. She's a waitress, I think, over at that diner on 5th Street. Bless her heart. It's nice they let her volunteer here. Gives her something to do. I froze for a second, coffee pot in my hand, feeling my face get hot. I didn't say anything, just kept setting up like I hadn't heard a word. Here's the thing none of them knew, because I never really talked about it at school events. Mostly out of habit. Honestly, more than secrecy. 4 years back, after Caleb's dad left, I started baking on the side, just to make some extra money. Simple stuff at first, cakes for coworkers, cookies for neighbors. It slowly turned into something real. I built a small home bakery business, got my kitchen certified, started supplying 3 local coffee shops with pastries every morning before my diner shift even started. By this year, that bakery business was actually doing better than my diner job. Quietly, steadily, the kind of growth nobody really sees unless they're looking. When the school reached out back in January asking for fundraiser sponsors, I donated anonymously. Same as I'd done the past 2 years, actually. This year, I covered the dessert table completely. And on top of that, wrote a check that ended up being just about half the entire night's operating budget. I asked the school specifically to keep it anonymous. Didn't want the attention, just wanted Caleb's school to have what it needed. That night at the fundraiser, after hearing Diane's comment, I finished setting up quietly, same as always, and got through the evening without saying a word about any of it. Full. About 3 weeks later, the principal, Mrs. Alvarez, called a small parent meeting to go over the fundraiser results and next year's planning. I almost skipped it, but Caleb wanted to come see his art teacher, so we went together. Mrs. Alvarez started talking about how grateful the school was for this year's donors, and mentioned, without naming anyone specifically at first, that one anonymous donor had covered nearly half the event's costs. A few parents murmured, curious who it might have been. Then Mrs. Alvarez looked directly at me, smiling. Amber, would you mind if I shared? I think it might mean something to some folks here. I hadn't expected that. I nodded, a little uncertain. And she explained simply and kindly that I owned a growing local bakery business, supplied 3 coffee shops in town, and had personally funded the majority of the fundraiser, requesting anonymity because it was never about recognition. The room got quiet for a second. I saw Diane's face specifically, that same polite expression from weeks earlier, shifting into something a lot less certain. I didn't say much, just thanked Mrs. Alvarez for the kind words, mentioned briefly that I was proud to support Caleb's school any way I could, whether that meant setting up tables or writing a check. After the meeting, Diane actually came up to me, looking a little flustered. Amber, I had no idea. That's incredible, honestly. I'm sorry if I ever came across as... She trailed off, not quite finishing the thought. I told her, honestly, it was all right. I wasn't looking for an apology, and I genuinely wasn't upset in some dramatic way. I just told her plainly that working as a waitress never made me any less capable, any less hardworking, any less part of that community, business owner or not. Things are different now at pickup, at school events. Not because people suddenly owe me anything, but because a lot of parents, Diane included, started actually talking to me, asking about my kids, my work, my life, instead of just quietly deciding who I was from a distance. I still work some mornings at the diner, actually. Love the regulars there too much to fully let it go. But my bakery's growing steadily. Might open an actual storefront next year, if things keep going the way they have been. I think about that night at the fundraiser sometimes, standing there with a coffee pot, hearing myself reduced to just a waitress. I've realized something since then. People will judge what they can see easily. A uniform, a job title, a car in the parking lot. But what somebody's actually building, quietly in the hours nobody's watching, that's usually where the real story is. If this story meant something to you today, I'd really appreciate it if you'd hit subscribe. We share stories just like this one all the time. About family, about being underestimated, and about the quiet work that eventually speaks for itself. And I'd love to hear from you in the comments. Has anyone ever judged you based on your job without knowing the